Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. I say this afternoon, it's afternoon in Glasgow. I say sunny in Glasgow. Actually, it's clearing up now, but wherever you are, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, auf Wiedersehen, bienvenue, all of those things. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. I see we've got a number of people already with us. We've got Aidan, Andrew, Giles, and a whole host of other people who have tuned in. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. You may or may not be experienced in using Crowdcast. We are obviously broadcasting on Crowdcast at the minute. We are also streaming. I am also streaming to a variety of other channels. So LinkedIn Live, Twitter via Periscope, Twitch, which any of your kids who run games online will know Twitch, and of course YouTube and Facebook. So if you're watching live, fantastic. If you're watching recorded, then pause whenever you need to go for a cup of tea. But thank you very much for tuning in all the same. As you might notice, I have a couple of logos here and here, ManyCam and Crowdcast. Today's show is all about using ManyCam to basically enhance your shows on Crowdcast, but also enhance any webinars that you have on the go. So you can use ManyCam with any platform, whether it be Zoom or other multitude of different platforms out there. I mainly use Crowdcast. So Crowdcast, just to for anyone who doesn't know so far, Crowdcast is probably considered to be the best webcasting platform out there right now. I know that people are using Zoom lots for meetings, and Zoom Webinar is very popular for webinars as well. But having used all of the platforms, I've found that the most flexibility in terms of connectivity, in terms of usability, in terms of people coming to view shows, people get involved in shows as guests, being able to set them up in advance, being able to share them both live and afterwards, embed them onto other websites. Crowdcast is night and day, a country mile ahead of everyone else, and like I say, is very, very user friendly. Crowdcast is used by not only individuals to give shows like this, but organizations for webinars, churches for their events and Sunday masses and so on, universities, social groups. And everyone uses it in slightly different ways. Everyone has different parts of the platform that they prefer, that they use all the time. Some of the features aren't used at all. I am a bit of a gadget freak. I'm a nerd, and I freely admit that. So I like to find out how things work, and I've been doing a lot of deep digging into using Crowdcast. I've been using Crowdcast for the past 2-3 years now. Before that, used, as I say, a number of other platforms, but moved completely onto Crowdcast along with some friends of mine. And in this webinar, what I want to do is show you how I use Crowdcast and some of the tools that I use to try and make shows as good as possible, as inviting as possible, and as engaging as possible for people who tune into anything that I'm on. I try and make the shows a bit fun. Sometimes they can be more serious than others, but the tool that I'm going to be talking about a lot today is ManyCam. Now, I'm not at all associated officially with Crowdcast or indeed with ManyCam, so no one's given me any backup to set up this event. But I think it's definitely worthwhile sharing the knowledge, sharing information that other people can use. And if I'm honest, people often ask me to come and help them set up their events. There was an event on Crowdcast this weekend. Last week, I was helping a company in Germany to set up using ManyCam so that they can have a variety of guests tuning into the show, being able to come online, share their screens, use logos such as these, and have titles below the faces and so on. So, and able to help a company like that, that's the sort of consultancy work that I do. So if anyone wants me for that, then I'm more than happy to help. But if you're just looking for some tips and hints to do this yourself, then we can focus on that. There are some functions of Crowdcast that I won't get into today, such as RTMP. Crowdcast, for the most part, is an originating platform. It's a platform where you can create content, you can have guests, you can have solo shows, you can have people chatting on the sidebar and so on. But it's an originated platform where you make the content there and then you distribute it out elsewhere. you might leave it only on Crowdcast, but you can stream it to elsewhere using the streaming features. You can also stream into Crowdcast using RTMP, which is a real-time messaging protocol, is what that stands for. And there are other tools for doing that. I won't cover that today, but I will cover that in the future because I've certainly had a look into how that works. And with a bit of imagination, you can kind of go crazy on those kind of tech features. But what I'm looking to focus on today are things that are user-friendly, things that work well for the shows that I've been involved in, and for many of the shows that I've looked at as well. So ManyCam, just to explain a little bit about ManyCam. ManyCam was created as a tool by which you can customize the output of your webcam. So instead of your webcam connecting directly to Crowdcast, or indeed to Zoom or Skype or whatever other platform, then your webcam connects to ManyCam, and then in turn ManyCam connects to your external platform. And what ManyCam can do in between is add graphics, overlays, logos like this, videos. You can have split screen, you could have multiple people on screen, you could have multiple cameras. And what I want to show you today is how we can do some of that. So one of the things that I can do, I'm just going to share my screen very briefly. If you bear with me a second. So if I can do this, then I'll just give you a pointer as to some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So if you can see this here. So I'll just move this along. Webinar scenarios is the main thing that I'm going to be focusing on today. How to webinar like a superstar, as they say. How to screen share, properly, successfully, and smoothly, so that your PowerPoint presentation, or if it's coming from your Mac, or whatever other platform you're using for your presentations, that you can do that smoothly. You can get your content on screen. That can include presentations with video. It could include adding audio tracks to the output that you're putting out there. Other things that you might be looking to do is have additional guests. Now, one of the important things on Crowdcast is that Crowdcast allows you to have four slots on screen. And when everyone's on screen, you'll see 4 boxes in a grid. That might be 4 people. It could be 3 people and one of them is presenting, so that's using one of those slots. Or it could be 2 people and those 2 people are sharing their screens. But there are 4 slots, so you're limited to that. But with ManyCam, you could effectively double that up, where you could have 4 people on screen, and each of those people individually can have their screen being shared. They can split their screen. They can have their presentation on screen, but their face in the corner. They can do any number of other things. So with ManyCam, there's a whole variety of things that you can do there. As I say, logos, overlays, audio tracks, text and titles, additional guests, and so on. One thing that I just want to mention very briefly, I won't go through all of these stats, but the statistics in video content online are nothing short of extraordinary. And these stats were actually put together at the beginning of the year before the lockdown. Since the lockdown, you can expect these numbers to have accelerated hugely. 74% of all bandwidth on the internet is video content, whether it's YouTube or Zoom or Crowdcast or any number of other things. There's video content out there taking up all that bandwidth. On YouTube alone, there are 5 billion views per day. It's the second most visited website in the world, and the average sessions, the time of the average sessions goes up and up. You'll know yourself, whenever you go onto YouTube for one video, you find yourself 2 hours later and you've watched 20 videos. One thing leads to another, leads to another. So video content is extremely important. That was my phone going there, disregard that. Giles, I see that you're happy to come on and have a chat. I'll get you on in just a second, if you can bear with me. Make sure that your webcam is ready, and I'll ask you to come on. Again, going back to some of these stats, most people who are consuming video content are consuming it on one of these, on mobile devices. And Crowdcast has an app for that as well. You can watch Crowdcast on tablets and the iPhone app on browser and the app itself. But as I say, most people are consuming their video content on small devices. When it comes to live streaming, there are a huge number of products out there or platforms where you can be streaming to. I certainly stream to, I think, all of these. Yep. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter via Periscope, LinkedIn, TikTok. You don't need to ask your kids anymore about TikTok because the corporates have moved in and the adults have moved in, much to the annoyance of the kids. But TikTok, Crowdcast, as you can see, they're Twitch and YouTube. So all of these platforms, even if they didn't have live streaming initially, they all do now. And when you have a show on Crowdcast, for example, you can stream out from there pretty much to all of these services. I use a platform called Restream, which allows me to distribute content going out there. Now, one of the things, and the reason that I'm showing you this on a PowerPoint is to show the ways in which you can be sharing your screen. One of the ways in which you can do it with Crowdcast right now is you can share your screen and it shows you exactly this. But I'm going to show you how you can do this through ManyCam. So on Crowdcast, as you can see, I'm sharing my screen and I can play a video and the video will show through there. Now, I won't show all of that. Right, so I'm just going to stop sharing my screen right now. If I can, when you have two screens, you tend to lose your mouse a little bit. So let's not do that too much. What I want to do is to share my screen, but via ManyCam. So what you're looking at right now is a ManyCam window. I'm going to share my ManyCam with you just now. In fact, before we get on to that, let's just get Giles on. Actually, I'll get Giles, if you don't mind, I'll show this and then we'll bring you on screen. So what I'm going to do is share my ManyCam itself. So I choose the application window for ManyCam. And what you should see on screen is what I can see when I'm looking at ManyCam. Stretched out here, I'm right in the middle of the screen. You can see all the controls round about there. I'll just bring this over so that you can see my mouse on screen. If that's visible to you, then hopefully that should be steady. The main screen, you've got me on there, and you've got various presets that I've set up down below. I've put these logos in here. These are overlays. If I wanted to add or remove additional logos on screen, then I can easily do that. These ones that are here, I can move them around if I want to position them on screen. When you're on Crowdcast, if you're on widescreen, if it's two people on screen, then you'll be widescreen. If it's three people, you'll find yourself made into a portrait shape, and the logo that you carefully positioned over here is suddenly not visible. Aidan asks, is there a reason your Crowdcast screen cut the logos off at the left and right? Crowdcast can trim a little bit of your logos and so on. So if you are on Crowdcast, then it pays to make sure that your logos are positioned correctly. And as I say, if you have three people on screen, then you'll have three people in portrait mode, which is long and narrow, and you'll want to bring that logo in closer to the screen so that it's going to be seen. And of course, you can make it larger and smaller according to your preference. Some of the other things that you can do is of course. Oh, Aidan says just before you shared ManyCam and the screen was quite square. It should be full screen now. Can you see it now, Aidan? Could be his end. It certainly could be. It could be the shape of your browser. Carry on. Thank you very much. As you can see, I'm in the middle of the screen here. We've got presets set up down here. I'll nip through these very quickly without dwelling on them too much. As I say, you can have different scenarios set up. If I wanted to switch to a different camera, like this one over here, then I can do that. I might want to switch back to this camera, but have a different logo up here. There you go. I always point in the wrong direction. You have a different logo up here, and again, that can be moved around. You could decide to have multiple screens, a split screen where you've got, let's say, in this instance, 4 screens. So there's me in the corner there. You've got a photograph up there, a graphic up there. Any of these could be other videos. If I want to switch this one here to my camera, I'll just switch this one here, and you'll see me looking straight ahead. And the one down below, I'm looking to the side. So again, you could have split screens. One thing, I'll pause here because there's an important thing that I tested this morning. There's a new functionality that's been added to ManyCam and has also been added to Skype, and that's called NDI. So NDI is a function where you can connect Skype and ManyCam and then output from ManyCam whatever you've got on your Skype. So on Skype, I could have a call, a group call with 4 people. And the grid of 4 people I can share as a grid, or I could share them all individually through ManyCam onto Crowdcast. So I might have 8 or 10 or 24 people, and I could switch between one and the other. So I could have Joe Blogs here, I could have another person here, I might have another person here, and I could show them in a grid like this. So the connectivity on Skype is to do exactly that. So I know a lot of people have stopped using Skype, but for this feature in particular, NDI, it's well worth having a look at Skype again. I would definitely recommend it. Again, while I'm on here looking at the presets, the video that you saw at the beginning was a video that I've preloaded on here. If I want to play this, then I can play this directly through, and the people on the other end will see the video. They'll hear the audio. I've turned the audio down low. You should be able to still hear me. But any video that you've loaded up, and I've got a playlist actually here of videos loaded up for that purpose. This last one here, there we go. These videos were made, Joe, using as a service I use called Videos. I'll just pause this here. Let's do that. So Videos is a template design shop online where for a one-off membership fee you can make unlimited videos of this type. Again, you could have a static image online. So I've got the static here, image on screen, and I'm in the corner. If you were presenting, then again, having yourself positioned in the corner and be able to move yourself around is important. Oh, I'm just dragging my face around within this. What I can do, again, just in looking at the details of any window, I could change my contrast. I could change the color up and down, give myself a bit of a tan. And again, each of these windows is controllable in their own right. One of the really cool tools that you're able to do now with ManyCam, if I switch to here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the ManyCam mobile app as a remote camera. So when I go to here, what you should see is I can choose the mobile app. I'll select Stephen's iPhone, click connect. My phone should prompt me to allow connection. I click to allow that, and what you should see is my mobile phone. Here we go, looking out the window. Here is my ugly mug, and this is my very messy office, and you can see outside there. So the ability to have a mobile phone as your wirelessly connected camera for Crowdcast, if you were at a conference, if you were videoing the vicar at church, if you were videoing someone who was speaking on stage, then again, the ability to do that and Crowdcast from that is fantastic. You're not using you're not waving around your laptop with the webcam on there to make a show. You could be walking around with it, and I'll show you an example. This might seem a bit daft, but I can show you. Here's a view out in Glasgow today. So let's not dwell too much on that. Go back to my desk, and you can see my setup here with the screens. Now I'll just flip this back so you can see me looking at the camera, which is probably more professional. Now, in this sort of scenario, if actually I'll switch to this one here. In this sort of scenario, you might decide that this isn't enough. The logo in the top here is fine. You should always be branding. You should always be trying to make sure that whenever you're online, people know what organization you're with. And when you do that, you're given a much more professional image about yourself and what you're doing. But you might decide, actually, what I want to do is have a title underneath. So if I can do this, where a bit like a newsreader, you've got the title underneath there. I might decide that I should be a little bit higher here, or zoom out, in fact, so that the tag makes a bit more sense. You can choose to have different lower thirds. Let's choose this one here. Again, it's a bit like a newsreader. If you have guests coming on screen and you want to have the titles underneath guests that you've brought through from Skype using the NDI functionality, then you can have this. You can have their brand up in the corner. You can have their title underneath the face. And for different scenarios, you could have a whole different set of lower thirds set up for this purpose. Some people, when they look at video technology, what they tend to focus on are some of the more trivial tools that you can use. And titles, I would say, are more important than trivial. I would say that the ability to put text on screen is certainly very important. So if I was putting text together to show on screen here, then I could have this set up. I could change the size, the font, the colors, in everything that's being used here. And a bit like a news ticker that can be going across the screen. Equally to that, I could decide that I want to draw on screen. So if I was gonna, let's see. Now, I am the worst artist in the world, but it gives you an example of the sort of things that you can do to enhance the screen that you're looking at. Some of the things that you can do on Zoom, and some people love these, some people don't. I'll just switch off that text. When you go to virtual backgrounds, now people can get crazy with virtual backgrounds, but more important than that, what I prefer to use is the blur background, where the background just goes a little bit fuzzy, and the person on screen is much more focused on and grabs your attention much more. I can turn the blurring in the background up to a crazy level, but as you can see, that fades a little bit on the sides, blurring around my head. Replacing it with different scenarios. If I let's go on the beach, or let's go on the mountains. So yeah, you can do all of these things and you can customize these. I'm not a big fan of them. Some people love them to bits. It might be that it absolutely suits your purpose. But as I say, the blurring function is more suitable for this purpose. So one thing that I didn't touch on so much, and some people do ask quite often, is, as I say, if I'm going to have a presentation online, then how can I do that and have the video play and the audio play at the same time? So I'll show you an actual scenario. So at the bottom here, I'm going to choose this box here where there's nothing added to the preset. I'll just then choose from the desktop. What I'm going to do is choose the app window, and then I'll choose PowerPoint. And what you'll see in the window now is my PowerPoint. It should be. Have I chosen the wrong thing? Bear with me. App window. I think my PowerPoint is playing up. Let's leave PowerPoint for just now. But as I say, the ability to play your PowerPoint with audio and video is really important. On the audio side, just while we're talking about audio, you can have multiple cameras. You can have multiple inputs. If you have a certain type of event where you've got a microphone feed coming in from a desk from people on stage, then you absolutely can do that. You can also set up playlists of music that you want to play alongside. So say you were starting the beginning of your show and you wanted some music to be playing. Now, I'll just put this on. If you were using any copyrighted material, then you really should do it for more than 10 seconds. So I'll just flip to the next track. And again, you can see exactly how that comes through on the show. And it may well be that using copyright material isn't what you want to do, but it might be a recording of anything else. So having the music track set up to play that there is exactly the way in which you can introduce that. And all of this content is going through your ManyCam and up to Crowdcast through the webcam feed that they've chosen, that you've chosen ManyCam to be your virtual camera for. So having said that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this moment, and I'm going to get Giles to join. If I can just click to invite Giles. Any questions that you have would be very, very welcome. Joanne asked how did I create the video. That was with the template company. Here we have Giles. Giles, good afternoon. How the devil are you?
I'm very good. Good to see you. It's been a long time.
It's good to see you. How's your week going?
It's going really well.
I'm back in the office. So, Giles, with regards to Louise is telling me that there's a bit of echo going on. Can you hear echo? If not, then I'm going to plug in my headphones to see if that will resolve that. Whenever you hear an echo, usually the rule is if you can hear the echo, then you are responsible for the echo. But
it could be
I hope that this makes a bit of difference.
That's definitely helped.
People in the chat bar, is the echo? Okay, that's perfect. Giles, with regards to video, what's your experience of using video and getting involved in webinars online?
Well, we're just starting off. So as we went into COVID, we decided we're trying to work out really how can we best share our knowledge, how can we deliver a bit of value back to the community. So we did that by creating the Job Train How Talent Sessions, which is a whole series of learning-based sessions for the HR and TA community. So we're relatively new to this, but that said, we've done 11 sessions now, and taking tips from you, and thank you for your tips as well, and also the and Hung as well. We did decide to use Crowdcast, and we've been using it really successfully, and it's worked very well for us.
Superb.
I would say that we've probably just used a lot of the basic functionality, and we're probably looking to take a bit of a step up now. So the ManyCam thing, for example, with having a bit of branding on screen, looks really appealing for us. And I did put a question in the Ask Questions bit. That was about streaming to LinkedIn using LinkedIn Live. Now, I've done a bit of research into this. And now, do you have to get LinkedIn's permission in order to stream to LinkedIn Live, or is there another way of doing it? That's my key questions.
There is a form that you can use to apply for LinkedIn Live. It isn't given to everyone, and it's a combination of factors. So, yes, I have LinkedIn Live. I think I'm relatively busy on LinkedIn, but I know people who are busier than me that haven't been given permission for it. So it's a bit hit and miss. But there's a form that you can complete, and you can give reasons why you want to use LinkedIn Live and the volume of events that you intend streaming. So a bit of persistence pays off there, but it's not automatically given to everyone who asks. I think they just don't have the bandwidth yet.
Right. Okay. So it's just a case of sit and wait, really. And obviously with Crowdcast, I know that you're quite fortunate and you've inherited an older subscription model of Crowdcast, so you were able to multi-stream to several locations. Whereas because we've only recently joined, we have to upgrade to the, I think it might be the Beyond the Pro subscription base in order to be able to multi-stream just to one location. So that's probably something to be aware of around Crowdcast. I think it does deliver quite a good value for money, but there's certain restrictions.
Yeah, the levels of billing in Crowdcast will be predicated largely on number of attendees, the length of the number of hours that you use to broadcast in a month, and the ability to multi-stream. As a business, so the top package, which I think is $139 a month, as a business, it's a drop in the ocean in terms of the features and facilities that you get. So I definitely recommend that. So if that works out, 120 quid, then definitely worthwhile. But when you're using the initial packages, then get used to what you're doing, learn about the functionality that you do have, and as and when you need those extra functions, then step up. So I would definitely recommend that. I see Aidan has just asked, how much is ManyCam? Let me just double check on that. So ManyCam, yes, it's a good question. I'm just going to double check because I have the ManyCam Studio package, which I'm just getting here. So the Studio package is $49 per annum. I've been using ManyCam for a while now, so there was an offer that was sent to me earlier this year, which was Studio package for lifetime for $49. So that's what I have. And with the Studio package, you can have 2 devices, 12 video sources, 4K video quality. So at the minute, whenever you're streaming online, aside from YouTube, then everywhere is limited pretty much to 720 or 1080, 1080p quality. It will step up in the future. And if you're recording within ManyCam, which you can do, then yes, you can do that in 4K, and then whatever you've made, you can upload that in 4K to YouTube. But the facilities that are in the studio package, I would say, I can't see why anyone wouldn't go for that. But the basic, there's a free version which has the logo on it. There's the standard version which is $27. But once you've done that, step into the studio is by far and away the best value. So $49 for the year is what ManyCam costs.
That's pretty good. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So you've obviously, you're a seasoned veteran when it comes to delivering webinars. And for example, at the start of this session, we had some music, and I think there was an animation as well. Do you use ManyCam to do that? And if so, how do you do it?
Well, I use ManyCam to feed that through. Yes, I can do a screen share, but if I was going to feed that through from ManyCam, then I would simply switch from one to the other. So if I switch to my video here, then it would go this way. Because we're on Crowdcast with two of us, then it's made it landscape. So landscape wouldn't work for sharing a widescreen video. So if I had the whole screen, then that'd be more suitable. But all I need to do is switch the input from me to the video, press play, and that will then feed through with the audio and the video. Now, you do want to make sure that your broadband is at a decent level, but it doesn't take the highest of broadband to be able to do that. I would say that having an old PC could make it struggle a little. So if you've got a PC that you've bought within the last 1 or 2 years, then you'll be fine. But older than that, if you were using multiple cameras, then the CPU can get quite hot and can start to struggle. So some of these functions, if you were using them all at the same time, then you'd want to have a pretty good PC for that.
Yeah, I definitely go along with the broadband comment. Having been on lockdown for some time, I've been struggling with a very old and battered ADSL connection. I've got about 8 megabits per second, which has been awful. Been hanging my phone out of my mum's bedroom window while I've been locked down with my mum, and I've been very, very pleased to be back in the office where we've got a nice fibre connection, and it does make all the difference in terms of the quality, but also in terms of the nervousness of making sure it's working well for not just you, but the audience as well.
What I would definitely recommend wherever possible is whoever's on screen, don't have all the responsibility on them for pressing the buttons and pulling the levers and doing the chat in the sidebar. So if you've got support from other people, then that can really help. So if you can disregard the sidebar and concentrate on what you're doing and maybe switching between screens on ManyCam, then that's much more workable. I see Andrew's asked in the side, can you explain the devices ManyCam? The devices ManyCam are your PC. Is one device. Your laptop, I have registered on my laptop, and your mobile phone. So ManyCam on the mobile phone. So that's the ManyCam app on the mobile phone, and I can switch to that as my my remote. One other thing that I can do, and I'm just going to do this quickly, but for this I'm going to say thanks, Giles. Unless there's anything else you want to ask, and I'm going to.
No, this has been great. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Okay, good to see you. Thank you. So one other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I go to this screen here, I'm at window, Stephen's iPhone, and what you'll see on screen now is exactly what's being shown on my iPhone. So if I was demonstrating something, which I was doing a lot last year, I was demonstrating products and apps on an iPhone where I wanted to explain exactly how a particular app worked. Then I could do that, and obviously we can flip between apps here. So as an example of how you can flip it to the side, I can select my photographs. There's nothing embarrassing in there apart from that photograph of me. And again, we can scroll through this. So effectively, I'm sharing my entire mobile phone on Crowdcast, and it's a great way of showing particular content that you want to have shared out there. One thing that I did do with this, I'll just go to it, earlier this year, as I was able to connect my drone and literally stream from my phone, from the drone to my phone to the PC, and the PC to Crowdcast or Facebook, and fly around. I was able to fly out of the office and up over the building. So imagine a Crowdcast where the camera is literally flying around 200 feet in the sky. So that's one of the things that you can do when you start to think, let's get a bit more creative. So I'll just come back to myself here. Yeah, Andrew, number of installs and one license. Yes, devices. Let me just double check. I do have any other questions here. Is ManyCam operational on older OS X versions? Now, at that point, I'll put my hand up and I'll say, I know almost nothing about Macs. So I'm going to have to defer to a Mac expert on that. That you can buy ManyCam for Macs, but I have not used it. So on that, I'm not so sure. Giles asked when he was online about streaming to LinkedIn Live. We've covered that. That's good to see. There can be, yes, Andrew asked about an audio lag. There can be an audio lag. There's a facility in ManyCam to tweak the audio going faster or slower than the person. Usually what you want to do is have someone to tell you how much of a lag it is, and you can then manually adjust that. It's not straightforward to do, I have to say. And if you have lots of other apps open on your computer, then and your broadband is bumping, then the packet loss, which you'll find online, can have an effect on that lag. So yes, hands up, you will sometimes get a bit of an audio lag between the video and the audio. So for example, if I clap my hand, then the sound and the video don't exactly match. They might be for you now, but Andrew says, lots of moving pieces. The thing that I would say with ManyCam is, yes, it has lots of functionality, but compared to other tools out there that do the same thing, Joanne was saying earlier that ManyCam is more of a Fisher Price than the very complicated tools like OBS. If you focus in ManyCam on just the functions that you want and you need, then you can disregard all the rest. What I'm showing you today is obviously much more involved than you might use elsewhere. But when you get ManyCam for the first time, the first thing you want to do is connect your webcam, connect your microphone, look at how you can share your PowerPoint presentation, perhaps have a logo or two on screen. And once you've got those, you're off to the races. You can have your first Crowdcast with these additional elements. And each time you go back to it, you can look at additional functionality without overwhelming yourself. Are there any other questions on the side while we're at this point? I see we're up to 38 minutes so far. I'm not going to go too much longer. Any other questions right now? Is that John? ManyCam does support inbound RTMP connections. Yes, there is functionality with ManyCam, so that you can set up your ManyCam as an RTMP server, so you can have content coming from elsewhere into ManyCam, and you can have content going out of ManyCam to RTMP servers. I'll show you something very briefly if I can. Let me just show you this. I'm going to choose my ManyCam again, so you can see it on screen. So I'll just do this. So you can be broadcasting directly from ManyCam. Now, we're talking today about transmitting from ManyCam to Crowdcast. I could connect to Crowdcast where I've chosen the ManyCam as my virtual webcam. But if I click on live streaming here, I could choose to, as with these settings here, I could choose to stream directly from ManyCam to Crowdcast using RTMP. I could also send directly to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch in this case, and I could set up a custom server where all I need is the server, the stream key, and any username and password if we want to add that in there. Some people were asking about the functionality or the packages and so on. When you have an account, then your subscriptions would be shown in here. So as you can see, I've got the Studio Lifetime account, and I've previously had these, so they're not active at the minute. And as Joe was saying there, RTMP streaming, RTMP server, you can connect IP cameras. You can connect any number of other devices via networks and proxy settings. We won't go into that just now. You could even set up remote cams to have motion detection on them. Now, you might use that for security purposes, but again, let's not get into that too much for now. So on that note, Andrew says, is there a scrolling function in addition to the news ticker? The news ticker, let me just go back to that. I'll show you exactly how that works. So if I go to the text here, I'll add on that, that's the wrong one. Where we go? Here we go. So if I put this one on here, this is scrolling. I can drag this to be larger or smaller on screen. If I made it larger, then I could make the text a little bit larger. I could change the color. I could change the speed at which it scrolls past. So all of these things can be done. You could change it left to right. You could have it top to bottom. Let's just slow that down. Or you could have it bottom to top, which is probably more traditional. And you would probably slow that down right down to here. So yes, for that, you can absolutely have that scrolling function. Can multiple people hook up to one ManyCam account from various locations? Aidan, yes. ManyCam aren't fussed about who is logging in. So if you have an account, then if you're not using it this afternoon, your colleague could certainly be using it across town. You would effectively be activating and deactivating the subscription in the settings here. So if I was in here, then I'd be switching this button here to switch it off and switch it on again. Now, I think if you were doing that often, they would probably notice and think what's going on here. But the ability to have multiple people using the same account is certainly there. Aidan, do you want to come on screen? Do you want to join us? Do you have a webcam? Let's just see if let's just invite Aidan on screen. I'm going to stop sharing and go back to my regular screen. Let's see if we can get Aidan on here. Have you accepted, Aidan? I hope you're using Google Chrome. If you're using Google Chrome, then it should all work smoothly, as recommended by the good people at Crowdcast. If not, then you might not see the pop-up. If Aidan can't come on screen in a minute or two, then I'm going to pause there. Does anyone else want to come on screen? We do have, very handily, an expert in Crowdcast in Louise Trines. Louise, are you available to come on or not? Oh, Adrian can't come on screen. Not to worry, Aidan. We can catch you another time. Looks like Louise isn't able to come on at the minute. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for everyone who joined. Thanks for all the content in the chat bar. Thanks for all the questions. If you missed the beginning of the show, or you didn't see all of it, then of course you can watch on replay anytime. Just come to this exact same URL. If you're watching on any of the social media channels, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, then you can obviously watch on replay there. Lastly, thank you very much for joining me today, and we will certainly be holding more of these shows in the next few weeks. So thank you very much again, and goodbye. Bye-bye.